the Executive Director of Hot Docs. Welcome to our construction site. As you can see, this is very much a work in progress, although our first screening is, I think, 10 or 11 days from now. Bloor will remain the largest cinema in Toronto with a total count of 710 seats. And it will be one of the only documentary-focused cinemas in the world. It will be operated, as you know, programmed, and managed by Hot Docs, and we will offer programming 365 days a year. We met with hundreds of community members, professional associations, local businesses, and audience members over the past 8 months. We listened and incorporated as much of their input as possible and included that in the planning of this space. I'll leave some of the technical enhancement details to others, but you'll notice certainly the new seats here, the glass partition in the lobby, the new concession area, accessible washrooms on the main floor, and twice as many cubicles in the room in blue. We will continue to rent this space to other local film festivals that have called the Bloor home for years. These are difficult times for the arts and cultural community in this city, but I think it's one of Toronto's good news stories of the year. The Borderano family were owners and operators of the Bloor for 30 years, and Carmen and Paul are here. They were determined to save the building from redevelopment, and we were delighted to introduce them to Neil Tabatsnik and the Blue Ice Group, who love cinema as much as we do. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Neil Tabatsnik, a film and television producer, president of the Blue Ice Group, and a proud new cinema owner. Neil?
Hi everyone. Well, Chris welcomed you to the construction site. I'll be a little bit more dramatic than that and welcome you to the Theatre of Dreams. Build it and they will come. The dream was to create a permanent theatrical place for documentaries. The seeds of this dream were planted during many visits to film festivals such as Sundance, such as Hot Docs, where frankly the most exciting features that you tended to see with the documentaries. You see a bad documentary and you still come out learning something. You see a bad fiction program and you just wasted an hour and a half. I mean, contrary to popular perception, documentaries are not only informative and educational, they can be thrilling, can be exhilarating, and in many instances can actually be life-changing. So that was the dream. Clearly, Hot Docs are the most obvious curators of this project. That group has done probably more than anybody else to create a public forum for feature-length documentaries, and has done more to grow this genre in the public eye than probably anybody else in Canada and maybe the world. So what happens to those docs, those great docs you see at the festivals? Well, a few of them get general theatrical releases. A few more of them will appear on a TV or computer screen near you within about a year. But those screenings clearly lose the power that they once had, when the sound and the fury of the original documentary was shrunk to the size of your living room. That's why the idea is to create a home for documentary theatrical releases. Chris and Brett from Hot Docs introduced us to Carm and Paul Bornero. Carm has spent, sitting back there, he's spent a large part of his life keeping this theatre alive. Frankly, less for the money that he was earning than for the real love of this theatre and true devotion to the community. The Borneros have been made offers by developers in the past, but had turned them down, only accepted ours when we assured him that we were not going to break the 99-year chain that this theatre is part of. The building was born as the Madison Picture Palace in 1913. which amongst other things boasted high-class orchestral music. And we read that it even hosted an event organized by the Liberal Party for lady voters in 1921. It became the Midtown, the Capri, the Eden, the softcore porn house, and then the Bloor. This is one of the last cinemas of its kind in Toronto, and that's truly a shame. To bring the new Bloor Hot Docs Theatre into the 20th century, we went to considerable lengths to enhance the movie watching experience. We increased the screen size by 30% and brought it closer to the front of the house. We installed new speakers and acoustic panels. The cinema's been converted to digital with the addition of a Christie high-definition DLP digital projector and Dolby Cinema server for the playback of DCPs, digital cinema packages. Chris, thanks for allowing me to kind of expound on the technical changes that we've made here. They clearly mean a lot to me. The DCP is the new industry standard for theatrical projection. At the same time, we rebuilt the 35mm projectors to show films that are made in that more classical format. We upgraded the theatrical audio system to Dolby 7.1 surround sound. We added a new public address system and theatrical lighting to aid live events at the Bloor Hot Docs Cinema. And of course, we added some of the comfiest seats in the cinema world. The seat's got an interesting story. Michael Moore built a theatre in Traverse City. And apparently he took 5 of his staff, he's a rather large documentary maker, took 5 of his staff, a woman of about 6'3", another person who worked for him, kind of a real, much shorter, slimmer, all these body types. And they traveled around the States, we've heard, for about a month, sitting in different theaters. And the seats that they chose were these. We chose the same seats as him. Along the way, we hired Ron Smith to program the cinema. We have Ron Cooper's Drag to manage it, and dozens of other great staff. Please be sure to read your cinema calendar, which is, you'll see that the programming on it is outstanding. We want to make this cinema a cultural hub, a meeting and learning center, and also an anchor in the community. At the same time as upgrading the technical aspects of the theatre, we felt it was important to preserve its architectural integrity. And for that, we have to thank Siamak Hariri, our award-winning architect, and his team. Siamak bought into our dream, and he executed it beyond expectations. Transformed this tired old lady into, frankly, the beautiful woman that she is. Can I call Siamak up, please, to describe our architectural program?
I think if I were able to just communicate one thing to you all today, I would try and get across how amazing Neil and Chris are in the city. That's really the main thing. In both their very unassuming ways, you could almost see this ship just almost silently just glide by, and you wouldn't even know that they did anything. But at the same time, this is why I love being in Toronto. That there are people that do what Neil and Chris do. The combination is absolutely magical because they came into our office and said, we have this theater, we'd like it done in 3 weeks. Okay, well that means paint and maybe a little, just kind of clean up the front a little bit or something like that. But as the kind of elixir of collaboration started to take place, we engaged, I think, in a really interesting process, which is a story about Toronto, which is both a kind of wonderful combination of both memory and desire. On the one hand, you heard, and you all know, and everyone, as we discovered, that has sort of participated in this space Carm certainly has done an extraordinary job shouldering that through kind of a rough stage, which is like the theater just is desperately kind of on its last legs economically. And then along come this, as I say, this kind of wonderful elixir combination where you have a desire to do something with film that is not your kind of typical blockbuster, and someone who says, you know what, I'm willing to invest until it hurts, which was Neil. And it was really great because that combination really rescued this project. And we began to think about, as I say, what it was, how we could both do all the wonderful things that Neil went through, and I won't repeat them, which is an important part of the kind of immersive cinema experience that we're after, right? The sense that you can come into a room with 700 people and watch a movie. I mean, that's just amazing. And yet, not lose the memory that this space had and the theater had. And as we began to kind of delve into the story, we dug up these old pictures of the theater when it was even as far back as a vaudeville theater in 1905. And originally, as it turns out, you used to come in the middle. And from the street, you'd see the stage, which is why you see that big sheet of glass. And the story began really with that, which is that why can't we both reclaim, rejuvenate, and bring this to the kind of best of class standard in terms of movie and cinematic technical experience. So on the one hand, the opening in the middle is really a kind of, it's just saying this is what we used to have. We used to be able to walk in off the street and see the entire gallery of seats, which is this image right here, which we've really resurrected. And if you notice, even down to the little details like the fabric on the seats is essentially trying to replicate what you see there with the stripes. And then at the same time, if we're really successful, then you would probably say we've almost done that. So it's really a wonderful combination. And I repeat that I think this landed beautifully in our lap. We're really thankful that it did. We had a great team of people on it that worked tirelessly on our behalf. Patrick Cox is standing there, the project architect. And we had wonderful builders that executed things night and day, Greenford Construction, specialists in theater, specialists in AV, but all of this really around a vision that was so beautifully set out that really was about kind of this idea that both wanted to make this an amazing place that would draw people from their living rooms or their movie dens to something which is collective, amazing, but at the same time retain that kind of wonderful memory that we have projects like this in Toronto. So I'm very thankful. This is a great day. It's hugely exciting, and I think it's going to work. Thank you.
Thank you for Siamak and Neil and Robin Smith, our programmer, and my colleague Brett Hendry, available for interviews as we go visit the media desk in the lobby. Thank you again for coming. Be sure to dust yourselves off before you go home, and we'll see you in a week and a half. Thank you.